Hi, Black Hollywood Live fans. Today we're asking the question, did Rob Kardashian break revenge porn laws when he posted pictures of Blac Chyna? We'll talk about that, the Venus Williams crash. What are you giggling about over there? And can the 25th Amendment really be used to oust Trump? We'll talk about it all. I can see some nodding, shaking over, some enthusiasm on today's panel. Welcome to Justice is Served.
You are tuned into Black Hollywood Lives. Justice is served.
All right. Happy post 4th of July. Does anybody say that? Is that a real thing?
I don't think so.
Well, it is now.
Okay. Welcome to Justice is Served on July 5th, 2017. I am excited to be back with most of the panel.
Yeah, it's been a while.
And just in case this is your first time tuning in, welcome to Justice is Served, where a panel of lawyers tell you all about their thoughts, analysis, and ideas about legal cases in the news within the past week. I guess I will introduce the panel because I feel like it's been a while. I guess I should start with myself, Chelsea Galicia. And here we have Domonique Price and Shaka Smith.
Yeah.
All right, we just need Yemi, and the whole gang will be back.
I know, 4 to 4.
Oh,
we'll get
one
it
day
done.
soon.
We'll get it done.
All right. In the meantime, we're going to do our best without her. Shall we talk first about Rob Kardashian?
It's been blowing up all over
It's
Instagram
all
and
over my
Twitter,
timeline.
right?
It's absolutely crazy.
Inescapable today.
Okay, so revenge porn laws in like California, at
Yeah.
least we know. You know, the first ones came out in like 2013.
2003, actually, Arizona was the first state to enact.
Aha.
Yeah.
I did know that California, we didn't get with the picture until, get with the picture.
Yeah.
Like that.
I like that pun.
Thank you. Until 2013.
Yeah.
Yes, and then it was revised in 2014.
And you said that
So
was
it's
revised
California Statute 255, and it pretty much stipulates that you cannot knowingly post a picture of a ex or anyone that you may have come into contact with without their consent. And in doing so knowingly could lead up to 6 months in county jail or a $1,000 fine. So I'm just wondering if Rob Kardashian knew that he was violating California law when he uploaded Blac Chyna's picture to Instagram this morning.
Well, we do know that. Well, he tweeted later that Instagram had deactivated his account.
That's another thing.
And to go to Twitter to get
To
the
see it
real
again.
tea. Yeah.
Which is interesting to me because he's trying to make sure that the entire world sees this picture. But Instagram has in their policy that if you post nude pictures, Chelsea Handler has been guilty, they will immediately not only delete the picture but deactivate your account for a second because they normally think it's been done due to a hack.
But usually,
Rob wanted you guys to know today I was not hacked.
But I've had friends that have posted pictures that have been like flagged by Instagram, and they flag the picture, not necessarily the account.
Well, and
so
I think at this point, you have to think about the amount of users that are now rushing to this particular account to comment, to just kind of go crazy, which I think really can throw off Instagram.
But I was wondering if it was Mama Kris and her team that may have his password and said deactivate now because we know legally.
You know how I feel about the Kardashian clan and cover-up, so we'll get to that later.
Oh, really? I don't know if I know about this.
But it certainly made me think, I wonder if Kris or some management realized, wait, this goes too far legally, and they shut down his account.
I really hope that's what happened.
Well, here's the question that I had, because I've heard, and I don't know if it's the statute that you're referencing or another one, that says that you can't post intimate parts of another person if you know that such posting will be emotionally detrimental to that person. So that's the mens rea part, the mindset part that you need to be guilty of the crime. But in this case, Blac Chyna apparently liked the picture on Instagram, so that may go against her being upset about them, which may mean he didn't violate the law.
I think she might be able to actually show, not necessarily that she liked it, because not that she didn't like it, but I don't think we're really going to be able to tell by her liking it what her mental state was, because it could have been her saying, I see what you're doing. Because from my understanding, they go back and forth with blocking each other.
Yeah.
And so in this case, I was like, well, I wonder if he thought that she was still blocked on his account and maybe wouldn't have seen it right away. I just was trying to figure out, why on earth would you post this then send people to Twitter to let them know that if they didn't see it earlier, you could see it again.
Well, I think he was.
It was just
Well, I think he was
crazy.
hurt. She sent him a video having sex with another man in his own house,
Well,
and the guy was wearing his robe.
I'm not saying that she didn't deserve.
Is that for real?
Yes,
Yeah. So I'm saying that's why he posted it.
When
yeah.
I tell you that, and
I
I'm
thought
just like,
fireworks for 4th of July were in the sky.
Oh no,
no.
It's in the Kardashian
no,
home.
no.
This
They
time.
said July 5th will be celebrated.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay then. I've never heard like a revenge porn defense. It's sort of like the what's the defense where heat of passion? Like
Yeah.
if you kill somebody in the heat of passion,
Oh,
your
yeah.
culpability drops down to like manslaughter instead of murder.
Yeah.
So I wonder if there's going to be a revenge porn defense where it's like in the heat of passion.
Interestingly
Certainly, yeah.
enough, as I was doing research, because I was really excited to talk about this today, since I knew
Were
we were
you now?
since I knew we were going to be together, I was like, oh, perfect. This is such a new statute for California that there are very few cases that have actually gone all the way to trial under this statute. That one of the most recent ones was in San Diego involving a husband and a wife, where the wife had never really sent news. They had been married for like over 30 years, but in the course of trying to spice things up as it was going downhill, she sent him a nude picture when he was getting ready to go on a business trip. Well, she's the one who initiated the divorce. So when she filed for divorce, he said, oh, I got you. And so that's when he posted their nude photos. And so they talked a little about, because he tried to use it as a defense. Well, I was heartbroken, and this was my way of like, proving that I still loved her. And I was like, what? Like, not only did he post this, he posted it on her job's Facebook page.
Well, and then that's gonna go to
You guys, so the judge basically
effect,
said you
yeah.
took it to another
Another-
level,
yeah.
and he not only just got the minimum of 6 months in county, he did a year
Oh.
with
Wow.
36 months of probation.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, but
So then I was just like,
is
can
nothing
I
to
have,
mess with
Can I
here.
have
Yeah.
Black China's email? Because I want to let her know, like, call your lawyer today. Like, go
well, I'm
downtown
sure
to
they're
LA
already-
County.
yeah.
I really want you guys to pursue this.
But
Just for me, please.
Yeah, I don't know. I think my prediction is I think he'll be in the clear. Just with the
just knowing how vindictive this relationship has been, I wouldn't be surprised if she wants to take it
As
to
far
that
as she
level as
can.
far as she can, because I think they genuinely like hurting each other.
I think this is that we're becoming a psychology show, which I would
yeah,
like
we're
to
trying
do,
to get
but
into the minds of these individuals.
I'm not sure if we can.
I'll leave it on this. I will say, from reading what the requirements, some of the previous cases, I do think Rob could be guilty.
But that like. Though.
That like
is what made
That like,
is what made do it.
Oh man! All right, let's move on to the Venus Williams crash. So in June 9th, she was involved in a car accident in Florida near where she lives, and about 2 weeks later, one of the people in the car that actually hit her, the passenger, died of his injuries. I thought it was so sad. It was a husband and wife that were in this
Elderly
car.
couple. I think it
Elderly
was 78.
couple.
He died on her 68th birthday.
So sad.
And he was 78.
Yeah.
And that age is actually going to make a difference in the outcome of the case because it depends on economic damages.
Yeah.
And somebody that's at 78 years old has
Probably is on
already
a-
exceeded
Yeah.
the life expectancy of a male.
Yeah.
And so that's going to reduce way down the amount
Probably
of
just
damages.
the amount of pension, then the loss of consortium, I suppose.
I see a settlement. I think
Yeah, it'll be a quick
from
settlement.
interviews that I've seen thus far, I think Venus is really kind of broken up about.
But here's the thing:
what's
this is not. This is
Yeah.
probably not in Venus's hands. This is in her insurance company's hands,
Yeah.
unless the damage exceeds the policy, and then it would come
I'm
out of her
sure.
pocket.
I'm sure it will.
And it looks like there'll be criminal charges
Mm-hmm.
filed here. So
Well, I mean, it's a good question about the criminal charges because the police did say in their report that she was at fault.
for violating the right of way.
Okay, so we sat here trying to picture together how this happened. Who is the one that ultimately came up with the plausible diagram here?
From what I can tell is that it was probably green, yellow, and then she's like, I can make it.
Yeah.
And it turns red before she could actually make it. This couple goes and hits her as a result.
From
And
the
so,
report,
yeah.
because they worded very tricky, she failed to yield at a green light. So
Yeah.
it sounds as if it was yellow at the time,
Yeah.
and she sped up. But it says the report that I read said it was only 5 miles over
Yeah.
the speed limit, which doesn't take it into the realm of it being reckless driving.
Yeah.
So I think it lowers
I
her.
thought I read she
her
was only
liability.
going 5 miles per hour.
I read over.
Okay. I thought it was 5 miles per hour.
But
Then
that
I'm
doesn't
like, how
matter.
on earth did you total a car going 5 miles
Well,
per
the other
hour?
car would have been coming a little bit quicker.
Right, her car wasn't.
She was T-boned.
Yeah. The other car started to go presumably on a green.
Yeah.
And she darted in
coasting
front
through,
of
yeah.
the car. And so the woman, she had like a cracked sternum and multiple broken bones, and the husband had internal bleeding and
Eventually.
and died, I guess, 2 weeks later. So I still think, I have to believe that even if her car insurance doesn't fully cover, she would have some kind of umbrella insurance policy that would then cover this. So it's very unlikely that this is going to come out of her own pocket.
Yeah, because the damages are going to be low.
But the question is, and then because you're dealing with an insurance company, unless it goes to trial,
Well, then-
we're never going to find out how much the settlement is for.
True.
Yeah.
But what we can wonder is whether any criminal charges will arise, because when somebody dies, prosecutors look at that when somebody is at fault for an accident.
Yeah.
And even if the accident was caused by her going 5 miles an hour over the speed limit, we all remember from law school the eggshell doctrine. So it doesn't matter how delicate of a person you injure, and if they die from a paper cut that you inflicted, if you assaulted them with a paper cut and then they died of it, you could be liable. It varies by state and all. But so people trying to say, oh, she was only going 5 miles and and somebody died, that must have been something wrong with the guy, and that's not her fault.
Yeah, no.
Yeah,
But
you have to
still
take your victim as you find them, so that's not a defense that they were an elderly couple.
But I do think they'll probably hit her with a lawsuit for wrongful death and try
It's
to get
already,
Andy.
it's already
Oh, it's
been
already a
filed.
wrongful death
Oh,
action.
yeah, so
That's
then-
where we're at. This isn't
so-
this isn't criminal.
Yeah, so she'll have to. I don't think her insurance will cover that. She'll have to settle that one. 'Cause
Yeah, you hit
yeah.
it right on the nail. That's exactly what I was going to say. Now that it's been taken to a civil action, her insurance isn't going to cover it.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate. But I also kind of looking at some previous cases where there was a huge liability on the defendant's part. I just honestly don't foresee them winning a huge.
Yeah, I think she will
Dollar
settle
amount.
the case, maybe $1 million, maybe less than that.
Well, I don't know. So
Yeah.
we were talking a little bit before the show, and I brought up the R&B singer Brandi. She was in a similar situation in 2006. The case was actually settled in 2007, but this was a situation where it was extreme reckless driving,
Yeah.
and the person was killed, and she settled for $300K. So I honestly think, and that person was way younger than what we have here. So kind of just going off of a
It might even
similar
be less than-
situation, I
yeah.
think it could potentially be less.
I think for
And Brandi actually was charged with criminal charges
Yeah.
on
Yeah,
that one.
and that
there's
was-
not
yeah.
going to be criminal charges
No.
here
No, it doesn't
because
seem so.
her crime is violating the right of way. That's
Yeah.
not really something that gives
There was no
rise
drinking
to.
involved.
Yeah, they said there was no texting or anything
There
like
was
that.
nothing
yeah.
like that. And I even brought up the fact that Caitlyn Jenner was charged with a wrongful death action in 2016 that was later dismissed, even when she
found,
was
yeah.
actually found guilty for what they consider to be extreme unsafe driving speeds for the conditions. Because if we all don't know, Caitlyn Jenner lives in Malibu on a very windy road. And they said for the weather conditions and the time of day it was extremely unsafe. But that was mysteriously dismissed, which gets me back to my whole Kardashian
Cover-up
theory.
theory. All right. I'm not sure we get to hear all about that today.
Not today.
Yeah.
Because I do want to talk about this really interesting case that comes out of a Cleveland High School in Mississippi.
Yeah.
Totally confused. I had to read it like 3 times.
Yeah, it was a little confusing.
yeah.
Okay, so the deal with this story is that a black girl was named valedictorian, but she had to have a co-valedictorian who happened to be a white girl.
Yeah.
And in the 110-year history of this school, all 109 valedictorians preceding this were all white.
Yeah.
And then this year, both a black and a white girl were given the honor of being. I've never heard of co-valedictorian ever.
I've
I went to a
heard of
school.
it
I went to a
before.
school where the level of just academic achievement was so great that we would have like 5, 10. I went to my nephew's graduation last week, and he had, I think there were 13.
Really?
So they did.
Wait, 13 valedictorians?
Yeah, so they did
at
like
a high
a
school
round.
level?
And when I tell you guys, they were down to the decimal, same exact.
At high school level?
Yeah, GPA.
Wow, because
Yep.
well, at least in Florida, they started going like further down the GPA, like to 3 digits, and like going down more digits to make sure they were distinguishing between how many people. That's crazy.
So the mother, Sherri Shepherd, no relation to the woman who used
Which
to be
is
on
really
The View,
creepy.
Yeah.
filed this lawsuit on behalf of her daughter. The claim is for discrimination.
Yeah.
Okay, that sounds valid. But then
The damages
that
are gonna
she's
be-
like it caused emotion or mental anguish, embarrassment, loss of opportunities.
Well,
pain and
I
suffering.
did understand the
Potential
loss of
of opportunity,
opportunity
yeah.
because when you're applying to go to college, you lower your actual ranking if you're not the single valedictorian. And I literally learned this because our school has so many valedictorians. It's
Which school is
considered
that?
when I was in high school, we had a lot of valedictorians. So a friend of mine was valedictorian. We talked about how college admission goes. When there are multiple valedictorians, you are kind of bumped down a notch as like not being that academically prestige.
But I still, maybe, but I still,
I thought
you're still
this
putting
was-
valedictorian on your application.
Valedictorian on your
yeah,
application,
yeah.
but I get where her mom was coming from on that. I think a lot of the other claims were extremely
If
like
anything, the other
bolstered.
claims were a little bit more, intentional or
Yeah,
infliction of emotional
yeah.
stress. To me, that would cause distress that someone would be named co-valedictorian.
But here's the thing.
Yeah.
CNN did an interview of the co-valedictorians last year
Yeah.
on a different story.
Yeah.
Something that I think we covered here, where the state of Mississippi had been battling
Yeah, desegregation.
for like 50 some odd
Seriously.
years
Yeah.
a lawsuit that had claimed that they were still segregating schools.
Yeah.
And the state lost that case and had to desegregate.
Yeah.
And
This is last year, guys.
Yeah, like
last
literally,
year.
you guys, I need you to understand that this
Last year.
just happened last year.
So
like
right-
late last year.
Yeah.
So CNN interviewed these two girls about the fact that
Yeah.
Mississippi schools had just been desegregated. And what was the girl's name? Their mother's name is Sherri, and Jasmine, I believe it was. You see her seeming to be happy and okay with, I mean, I don't know, you're seeing like a 10-minute clip on CNN
Yeah.
of her with her co-valedictorian. At least at that point, it didn't seem that there was any
Yeah.
feeling of having been, I don't know, ripped off or treated unfairly,
And-
or maybe she was just being positive because, ooh, I get to be on CNN.
Yeah, that won't help, obviously, her case.
Right, it won't help her case at all. And I think where I got confused was in reading the report, it seemed as if the school is saying that they had the exact same GPA, but the mother is asserting that the other young woman had a lower GPA. And
Yeah.
if you go back to the school's policy, it says that there would only be valedictorians if they had the exact same score.
So that's
or a GPA, I should say. So my question is, unless Sherri has gotten a copy of this girl's transcript, how do you know exactly what to the decimal her GPA was?
I think she must know, because there's no way to assert this without having some actual knowledge. So I think
I'm
discovery
like,
will
was
be
it printed
interesting.
on the graduation
Or
program?
Well, it may have been they shared with each other each GPAs, and she was surprised to learn, wait, yours is slightly lower than mine.
Right. And then maybe that's why she was okay with it on CNN, because she thought that they had the exact same GPA, and maybe through the course of this year she found out, yours is a little bit lower
Maybe they
than
just
mine.
talked and
Why
figured
are we
it out,
sharing?
yeah.
Could be. We don't know.
And it could also be the case that her GPA didn't lower till after it's locked in that you're
Second semester.
Yeah, exactly. So it'll be interesting on Discovery to figure out exactly what took place here.
And I think it doesn't help that this particular area has already had very high racial tensions in their school district. So I feel like that kind of helps her case to show, like, you guys just didn't want this black
It
girl
seems
to have
odd,
this
yeah,
right.
that the
you
first
know?
time there is one, it does seem a little odd.
And it's very interesting
110
that she
years.
also stated that since filing the claim, they've had extreme like hate mail come to their home and drive-bys,
Facebook.
and I was just like, people,
Mississippi, do better.
Mississippi do better. I think that's a good one. All right. Well, some people think we can do better with a different president. Although I don't really. Well, the different president that these people have in mind would be the vice president,
We'll take
Mike
him.
Pence.
I'll take him.
Oh, God, I don't know about
No,
that.
I will fervently go ahead and say I'll take him.
The play for that would be to invoke the 25th Amendment,
Yeah.
which is the amendment that says, if something happens to the president, the vice president takes over and yada, yada. But the fourth section of the 25th Amendment has caused a couple, I don't even know if it's a couple, maybe about a dozen Democrats to really take a look at this section and move for a bill that would provide for a body of Congress who would then, I guess, somehow test, I don't know.
The president's mental capacity.
Yeah.
So
Fitness,
we know that
yeah.
the 25th Amendment was put in place after President Kennedy's shooting, mainly to have an efficient transfer of power, so the president being incapacitated.
Yeah.
And it's been used a couple of times. I believe it was used with George W. Bush
It
when he had a
was used
colonoscopy.
with Reagan when he
and
had
when he was shot.
cancer.
Oh,
Yeah.
was it used when he was shot as well?
No, probably
Yeah.
so, but I think before then he had a tumor or something removed.
Yeah, and then George W. Bush recently, which I didn't realize, they used it for when he had a colonoscopy. So we know it's always been for physical incapacitation.
Right.
It's never really
for
been mental.
So then I thought it was really interesting because I'm like, we all understand that Trump is a little outspoken and some of his ways for doing business is not what a normal person would do. But in being able to prove that there's a diminishment in his mental capacity, you'd have to be able to prove that he either has dementia, he has a severe learning disability, there's been a brain injury, there's a mental health condition, or he's undergone a stroke.
What's that mental health condition?
I think they're going for the mental health condition, but the interesting part is that I literally just watched a documentary the other day that kind of outlined Trump and his play for the office all the way back to 98. Nothing that Trump is doing right now is out of the ordinary for Trump. So you'd really have to show that he's already an outrageous man. So I just I don't know that they're really going to be able to
been
prove.
crazy all along.
But that's the thing. I feel like he's been crazy all his life.
Well, no, but it's not measured against your own craziness. If you've been a sociopath, they can still.
But it technically is.
Well, no. Because if you've been a sociopath, then no one realizes it, and then clinically they go, "Oh, you're a sociopath."
But if you're a clinical sociopath that the American people have decided
still a mental health condition.
they're okay with you running the country.
No. It's still a mental health condition that would
we didn't
qualify.
know.
And it would still be a mental health condition that would qualify you under incapacity.
Right, but what I'm saying is that it's going to be really, really hard to prove that it's a mental health condition.
I don't think so, because remember, there's going to be a panel of psychiatrists and doctors, so it's not like just laymen. And I would think, well, in Trump's case, not sociopathy, but maybe narcissism would be where it would go to.
I wonder if that
and there are clinical
can get to a point where you are
but narcissism
diminished
isn't an
mental
actual
capacity.
mental health condition.
There's a what?
It's not considered a mental health
Clinical
condition under the.
narcissism?
It's so.
Yeah,
let me back up for a
let's go
second.
to the
Let me back up for a second.
It was
So
actually removed
about
from the-
thank you. So about
was it removed?
10, 15 years ago, they enacted what they consider the Mental Capacity Act,
Yeah.
which really describes what you need, what your conditions are
Yeah.
to be considered to be
Incapacitated.
for a mental condition.
Yeah.
Narcissism was removed.
Oh, once you remove that, then
So
yeah,
that's why I
forget
was
about
like,
it.
you have
Forget about it.
There's so many other things that you
That was a
probably
good
could
one.
classify him under,
Yeah.
but for it to be a condition where they would say he really is impaired and cannot do his job,
But when
I think
you're,
it's a tough.
there are signs of irrationality and all sorts of
True.
stuff that
Yeah.
maybe we as what is it called
Pop psychologists
pop
or-
psychologists, right, armchair psychologists,
psychologists,
right, are thinking there's something perhaps more complex going on than just narcissism. Because it can be narcissism.
It's 100% narcissism, where it's like he won't listen to anyone. Like even with the
Yeah.
Twitter stuff, like they tell him don't do it, he says I'm going to do it. It's definitely narcissism unless it's dementia. But again, he's always been this way, so I don't think he's been.
Okay, so
suffering from
here's
dementia.
So let's just say we got over the hurdle and we got him declared mentally incapacitated. It still has to go for votes in
Two-thirds,
both
yeah.
the House and the Senate, and then the Vice President has to go along with it.
Yeah, I mean,
It's a feat.
well, if he decides to attack North Korea unilaterally, we're gonna see this ramp up.
Oh,
maybe,
for sure.
Maybe,
I can definitely
maybe
see,
they'll say, let's get this committee on board real quick.
if he goes that route.
But I think it speaks to the changing times and the kind of the nature of Trump, because even on Twitter, North Korea has the missile. He says, Does this guy have nothing better to do? And it's kind of weird to be taunting the North Korean leader through Twitter. And so already that's going to, and then obviously the video this past weekend of the wrestling video at CNN. So I do think this might have some legs in terms of if this behavior continues, them starting this committee. What the outcome will be difficult, but I think you'll hear the calls, even bipartisan calls, getting growing louder and louder if it continues.
Yeah, I think you're right. At this point, it's
a little premature.
What were you calling
but
it? You were like, the reach is real.
It is.
But after that CNN video, just viscerally, I was like, I can't believe this must be a parody account, but
not so much.
It is his.
Yeah. Retweeted on the official POTUS account.
Which is just like
the National Archives. It's now going to be national.
Guys,
it's in the archives
daily,
now.
I'm just like, am I still being punked? Like it.
I do, for some reason, I feel like somehow, some way, like this, we will all awake from this nightmare.
You guys, it's not even a full year one yet.
Well, I think this whole thing convinced me we're not in the primary universe. We're one of those offshoots. You know, when you think you're in the no, we are one of the permutations.
Well, this is another story that has me thinking that. There has been this concern by some Republicans that there is voter fraud.
Yes.
Election fraud. Well, election fraud
scandal,
maybe.
I think it's totally possible.
Trump said that there were millions of people who illegally voted for Hillary Clinton, and so they put together this election integrity commission, right? Mm-hmm. The head of it, or the vice chair of it, is Kris Kobach, who is the Secretary of State in Kansas, who is a firm believer that there are voting problems, when all the studies that I'm aware of show that it is not actually a problem.
Yeah.
So they recently put out a request to all the states to turn over their voter rolls, their information, including sensitive information like the last 4 digits of our social security number,
birthdays, what party you're registered with. I mean, for that to be coming from the administration is a little bizarre.
So people are freaking the F out about this because this information would be published by the commission.
Yeah.
So we know that if they get it, all the information is going up. So states are declining one by one. At first it was like a dozen, and then I heard it's up to now 45 states.
45, yeah. Wow.
That some of them haven't outright said we're not going to cooperate at all, but 45 have said that there are parts of it that we're not going to cooperate with.
Yeah.
Kris Kobach's defending it, saying it's fake news, that we've asked for anything that the federal government is not already entitled to or able to get because this is public information. I think he's wrong, and I think people will maybe hopefully be like, oh shoot, this president wants a registry that I heard on the radio on the way over here is somewhat similar to a registry idea a few years ago of gun owners. And gun owners freaked out then. We don't want the government knowing all about us. Mm-hmm. So if we can do a good enough job of showing the parallels, you guys didn't want a gun registry. Yeah. Why should we have a voter registry? Yeah. Some people might say, well, we have a voter problem, but we don't. And the ways that Kris Kobach, wants to cross-check this information is not going to work, and what's going to do is going to throw people off the voter rolls that deserve to be on there.
Yeah, and it's certainly going to make people less hesitant to register to vote.
Right. Which I really think is their aim.
Which tends to benefit Republicans.
Yeah.
But what's worse is Kobach has been using this as a selling point for his election.
He wants to become the governor.
Yeah, and so he's been touting this work on the committee, which we know violates the Hatch Act of ethics. To do this.
Yeah, there was a question about whether it does. Some people say it does. Other people are like,
say it doesn't.
Not really.
It's almost with Kellyanne Conway's situation, that pure promotion of this governmental job in order to win an election. It seems almost, completely
it's in poor taste. But
and that's the thing. I feel like it's more of a poor taste thing than completely being.
Certainly a violation to me when you look at the website touting all the website has nothing to do with what you might do.
Right. It's absolutely horrible, but it's like
I think it's an ethical violation. Clear. I'm like, that's absolutely.
I don't disagree. I think I'm on the fence of I think it's a little unethical, but more so I feel like it's bad taste. I just feel like he should know better, which to me I feel like he's shooting himself in the foot, because I'm hoping that the great voters of Kansas are looking at this and like, I would not want him, like he's a mini Trump. I would not want him running, you know,
This
the
state.
state.
The
So
state of Kansas
hopefully
is in dire straits already.
right? They don't
Yeah.
need this perpetrated, so, but who knows?
Okay, so a similar thing is going on over at Facebook, that the government wants information from Facebook about protesters.
Yeah.
Which was really
So,
interesting because
yeah.
it really reminded me of the case with Apple.
Oh yeah,
Uh-huh.
when Apple refused to do it.
Yeah.
Apple refused to disclose the code or a break-in way
For the terrorists,
For,
San
right?
Bernardino.
for actual
Well,
terrorists.
terrorists, yeah.
So I was like, well, if they were able to not provide that information, can't I agree that Facebook shouldn't have to either.
But I think Facebook also stems with the disclosure because, so the government not only wanted to get some information from a particular account surrounding the
don't want you to
inauguration,
know.
they also got a gag order so that they would not be able to disclose to those users that they were taking information from their account. And that is really the scary
That's
part
the
of it
part
all.
that Facebook said, if you want to get a warrant for their information, that's fine, but you got to tell them
Yeah.
and give them the opportunity to do something,
yeah.
block it or to respond.
Interestingly enough, I thought this was really interesting because I won't name names, but I've worked in a situation where we had to provide information for a customer, and we were given a gag order not to make them aware, but it was because if they would have been aware, it was a situation where they were planning a attack on an elementary school.
Okay.
And so in cases like that, they're more willing to not tell the customer, which I thought was interesting. But in situations like what we're dealing with Facebook, they typically
because this is-
want you to be able to release the information to the consumer.
This is
Yeah.
a potentially First Amendment violation because you have the right to speak out and speak out anonymously.
Yeah.
Right.
And I believe the government was even upset with Facebook for they put out some sort of general
oh yeah,
disclosure.
they put like a but to a group.
Yeah, to a general disclosure saying that, I
To
guess...
a particular
yeah.
group, like someone within your group,
Yeah.
information has been requested. And so that kind of, I feel like that was too close to home. It would have been different if it would have went out to all Facebook users. But I don't know how, it didn't say how large the group size was. But
Yeah.
I'm like, if it's a group of 15 people,
And Facebook
that's
said,
easy to figure
and
out
Facebook
like who
said
it was.
the group already knew, or that information was public, that they were being looked into. So, it's certainly it's just deleterious when the government's also asking for that person not to know that you're looking into their
And
account.
I hate when the government makes that argument, well, don't you guys all want to be protected? And I'm like, well, yeah, but is there a way to protect us without, like, encroaching on our privacy at the same time?
Yeah, therein lies the great
Yeah,
question.
and because of the secretive nature of the case, we don't actually know exactly what it's about. We have an idea it's about some protest around the inauguration, but we don't know exactly what it's about because Facebook wasn't able to disclose any further information regarding this. So.
Right.
Ugh. But it feels like there's an onslaught of people
Yeah.
trying to take, grab our information,
Private information.
to either sell it, like the phone companies
Yeah.
are now able to do, or people are getting information from Facebook, and who knows how
I
all of
have
this
this
can
thought
be used.
Yeah.
that wouldn't life be a lot easier if there was a way to allow all of your information to just be out there, but there be no identity theft?
Well, you let me
I'm
know
just like,
how that can happen.
I'm in this flux of just like, everybody wants my information.
Yeah.
And it's hard to like put a grasp on like making sure that it doesn't slip out of your fingers. Like I was having a conversation with my dad and he refuses to do bill pay online because he's afraid of identity theft. And I'm like, well, there's still so many other ways that people can get your information.
Wait, hold on.
Yeah.
How do you have your identity stolen from Bill Pay?
Well, I guess if they were to hack,
In his mind, he
some
thinks
sort of
that is a
system,
thing.
yeah.
Oh.
I think Target has really screwed him up. He thinks that anybody could just get your
Yeah.
information, so he still is like super old school about it. But I was trying to explain to him, I was like, there are a lot of different ways that people can grab your identity, and it doesn't help that almost every platform that you use has a little piece of the personal information. So it's like if I take the little piece that you gave to Facebook, if I take the little piece that you gave to Apple, the little piece that you gave AT&T, and I put it together, I have your identity.
Yeah, I have the complete picture.
It's scary.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, if they just had all the information already,
And somehow that could not be
like,
used
can we go to like a thumbprint system? like, to seriously, like, if they just had all the information, but to really access accounts and stuff,
eye scans
we
everywhere.
did it through like eye scans or through your thumbprint.
Yeah.
like
Voice
help
recognition.
But
situation.
then it might crimes of like theft of eyeballs might go up.
I don't know.
Okay, how about
Figure out a solution for
you
the
need
future.
you need thumb, eyes, and voice.
I like the
Oh,
combo.
there we go. There we go.
There's
Yeah.
gonna be a gun to your head somewhere. But
Yeah.
I like the combo.
Hand over your thumb. I don't know. All right. We're delirious from post, 4th of July-ness. I don't know.
That was good antics.
Okay. Well, did we get to this all? I think so.
We did.
Yeah.
All right. Well, then, thank you so much for joining us. And in the meantime, like, comment,
Yes.
tweet me at Chelsea Galicia.
And you can find me at Domonique P_ESQ.
Yes, that's your name. You guys can find me at Shaka Strong, Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat.
Yeah, in fact, we prefer that you contact Shaka.
Yes.
He's our PR person.
Right.
That way.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
From executives Keven Undergaro, Dario Kristen, Tiana Hobson, and the entire BHL staff, we would like to thank you for supporting Black Hollywood Live, the first online broadcast network dedicated to African American entertainment. For questions and comments, contact us. info@blackhollywoodlive.com. Like us on Facebook, tweet us, or Instagram us at BHL Online. And I am the official voice of Black Hollywood Live, Scipio. Instagram me at KingXOBay. Thanks for tuning in.
Hollywood redefined.
The views expressed here are those of the host only and do not necessarily reflect the views of BHL or its owners or principals.